Quinlan wiped her tears as she held the receipt with trembling hands. What Travis Kelce had written on that piece of paper wasn't just words. It was the difference between life and death for her 7-year-old son. But when she ran after him shouting, "Thank you for saving my son," what happened next shocked even the famous NFL player. This is the true story of how a simple lunch at the iconic Mel's Drive-In in Los Angeles turned into a miracle that would change 2 lives forever, and why Travis would never forget what he discovered about that brave waitress. The neon sign of Mel's Drive-In flickered against the afternoon Los Angeles sun, casting pink and blue shadows across the bustling restaurant that had been a Hollywood landmark since 1947. Inside the retro diner, with its checkered floors and red vinyl booth, Quinlan Ashworth moved between tables with practiced efficiency, her blonde ponytail swaying as she balanced plates of burgers and milkshakes. At 29, Quinlan had learned to hide her exhaustion behind a bright smile. She had been working double shifts at Mel's for the past 6 months, ever since her 7-year-old son Mason had been diagnosed with a congenital heart defect that required immediate surgery. The medical bills were crushing her, even with the restaurant's basic health insurance. The surgery alone would cost $200,000, an amount that seemed as distant as the stars that decorated Hollywood Boulevard just miles away. "Order up for table 7, called Miguel, the line cook, sliding a plate of the signature Mel's burger across the path. Quinlan grabbed the plate, adding it to the tray, already loaded with fries and onion rings. Her feet ached in her worn sneakers, but she couldn't afford to slow down. Every table meant tip, and every tip brought her microscopically closer to the impossible goal of saving her son's life. Mason was currently staying with her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, a kind elderly woman who watched him after school while Quinlan worked her evening shift. The doctors had given them a timeline. The surgery needed to happen within the next 2 months, or Mason's condition would become inoperable. The thought sent a familiar chill down Quinlan's spine, one she pushed away by focusing on the immediate task of serving her customers with the warmth and attention that had made her one of Mel's most requested servers. The lunch rush was in full swing, and the diner buzzed with the usual mix of tourists, locals, and industry types who frequented the famous eatery. Quinlan had served everyone from struggling actors to A-list celebrities, but she treated each customer with the same genuine care. It was this authenticity that kept people coming back, asking specifically for her section. "Quinlan, honey, table 12 needs refill," called Sarah, another waitress who had become like a sister to her over the years. Sarah was one of the few people who knew about Mason's condition, and she often picked up extra shifts to help Quinlan when the medical appointments became overwhelming. "Thanks, Sarah. I'm on it," Quinlan replied, grabbing the coffee pot and making her round. She paused at table 12, a booth occupied by a businessman who barely looked up from his phone as she refilled his cup. "Is there anything else I can get for you?" she asked with her usual warmth. The man grunted a response that might have been a no, his attention still fixed on his screen. Quinlan had long ago learned not to take such behavior personally. Everyone was fighting their own battle, and perhaps his indifference masked struggles she knew nothing about. As she moved through her section, Quinlan's mind wandered to Mason, as it always did during quiet moments. That morning, he had asked her when he would be able to play soccer again. She had promised him it would be soon, knowing that without the surgery, soon might never come. The lie tasted bitter in her mouth, but she couldn't bear to see the light fade from his bright blue eyes. The afternoon sun streamed through the large windows of Mel, illuminating the red and white decor that had remained largely unchanged since the restaurant's golden age. Movie posters from films that had featured the diner lined the walls, including the famous American Graffiti poster that drew countless fans seeking to connect with Hollywood history. Quinlan paused near the kitchen, taking a moment to check her phone. A text from Mrs. Chen showed Mason building a fort out of couch cushions, his face beaming despite the fatigue that had become more noticeable in recent. The image filled her with both joy and determination. Whatever it took, she would find a way to give him the future he deserved. "Quinlan, you've got a new table," called Marcus, the host, gesturing toward booth number 6. She looked up to see him seating what appeared to be a group of young men, their casual but expensive clothing suggesting they might be from the entertainment industry. Not unusual for this part of Los Angeles. She grabbed fresh menus and made her way over, her professional smile masking the weight she carried in her heart. As she approached the table, something about one of the men seemed familiar, but she couldn't quite place it. He was tall and athletic, with kind eyes and an easy smile that suggested he was accustomed to being around. "Good afternoon, gentlemen. Welcome to Mel's Drive-In. I'm Quinlan, and I'll be taking care of you today. Can I start you off with something to drink?" she said, her voice carrying the practiced warmth that had become second nature. The familiar-looking man looked up at her with genuine interest, his smile broadening. "Hey there, Quinlan. Great to meet you. I'll take a Coke, please." His voice carried a slight Midwestern accent, and there was something about his demeanor that set him apart from the usual celebrity clientele. He seemed more grounded, more genuine. His friends ordered their drinks as well, and Quinlan made mental notes, her server instincts sharp despite her personal worries. As she walked back to get their drinks, she couldn't shake the feeling that she recognized the man, but the afternoon rush didn't allow her time to dwell on it. In a few minutes, she would discover that this seemingly ordinary lunch service would become the most extraordinary day of her life, setting in motion events that would challenge every thought she knew about hope, kindness, and the unexpected ways that miracles can arrive when we need them most. Quinlan returned with the drinks, setting them down with practiced precision. As she placed the Coke in front of the familiar-looking man, he looked up at her with a warm smile. "Thank you, Quinlan. You know, you seem like you really love what you do." "That's rare," he said, his voice carrying genuine appreciation. She felt a flutter of surprise at the personal comment. Most customers, especially those who seemed to be from the entertainment industry, rarely engaged in real conversation with their servers. "Thank you. I do try to take care of everyone who comes in here. Mel's is a special place." "It really is," agreed one of his friends, looking around at the vintage decor. "The history in this place is incredible." As Quinlan took their food orders, classic burgers and fries all around, she found herself relaxing slightly. These men seemed different from the usual Hollywood crowd. They were polite, attentive, and actually listened when she made recommendations. "I'd definitely suggest the Mel's Special Burger," she said. "It's been on the menu since 1947. And honestly, it's the best burger in LA. The secret sauce is something else." The familiar man grinned. "Sold. I'll take the Mel's Special. And hey, what's your story, Quinlan? How long have you been working here?" The question caught her off guard. Customers rarely asked about her life, and for a moment she felt the careful walls she had built beginning to crack. "Oh, about 3 years now. I love the people, the history. It's like being part of something bigger than yourself." She didn't mention Mason, didn't mention the medical bills, or the sleepless nights spent researching fundraising options online. Those were her burdens to bear, not something to share with customers, no matter how kind they seemed. As she headed back to the kitchen to place their order, Sarah grabbed her arm gently. "Quinlan, do you know who that is at table 6? He looks familiar, but I can't place him. Someone from TV, maybe?" Sarah's eyes widened. "That's Travis Kelce. You know, the football player? He's like one of the biggest stars in the NFL. He plays for the Kansas City Chiefs." The revelation hit Quinlan like a wave. She had heard the name, of course, even though she didn't follow sports closely. Travis Kelce was impossible to miss in the media, especially after his high-profile relationship had made him a household name beyond football. The fact that he had been so down-to-earth and genuinely interested in conversation made more sense now. Professional athletes were often trained in public relations. "Order up," called Miguel, and Quinlan focused on gathering the food for table 6. As she carried the tray over, she felt slightly nervous, but Travis's easy demeanor quickly put her at ease again. "Here we go, gentlemen. The Mel's Special Burger for you," she said, setting his plate down. "And the classic cheeseburgers for everyone else. Can I get you anything else right now?" "This looks incredible," Travis said, examining the burger with genuine enthusiasm. "You weren't kidding about this being special." His friends dug into their food with similar appreciation, and the conversation at the table was animated and friendly. Quinlan found herself stopping by their table more often than necessary, drawn by their positive energy and Travis's particular warmth. During one of her visits to refill their drinks, Travis looked up at her with a more serious expression. "Quinlan, can I ask you something? And please feel free to tell me it's none of my business." She hesitated, not sure where this was going. "Sure. You seem like someone who works really hard, and I can see something in your eyes. I meet a lot of people, and I've learned to read when someone's carrying something heavy. I just want you to know that whatever it is, you're handling it with incredible grace. The unexpected kindness in his words nearly broke her composure. For a moment, she felt the urge to tell him everything. About Mason, about the surgery, about the impossible mountain of debt that kept her awake at night. But she caught herself, maintaining her professional demeanor. "That's very kind of you to say. I appreciate it more than you know." Travis nodded, seeming to understand that she wasn't ready to share more. "Well, I just wanted you to know that you're doing an amazing job here. Some people are just natural caregivers, and that's a gift." As the meal continued, Quinlan found herself genuinely enjoying their presence. Travis and his friends were respectful to the staff, patient when the kitchen got backed up, and generous with their appreciation. They asked about the history of the restaurant, and Quinlan found herself sharing stories about the various movies that had been filmed there and the celebrities who had become regulars over the decade. "You know," Travis said as they were finishing up, "this place reminds me of a diner back in Kansas City where I used to go with my mom when I was a kid. Same kind of family feeling." "That's exactly what makes Mel's special," Quinlan agreed. "It's not just about the food, though the food is great. It's about the connection. We have customers who've been coming here for 30 years. When it came time for the check, Quinlan brought it over with a slight feeling of sadness that this pleasant interaction was coming to an end. Travis took the check and smiled up at Quinlan. "Thank you for making this such a great experience. You've got something special here. Thank you for being such wonderful guests. I hope you'll come back if you're ever in the area again." Travis's friends stood up to leave, but he remained seated for a moment, pulling out a pen. "Just give me 1 second, he said, writing something on the receipt. Quinlan stepped away to give him privacy, assuming he was calculating the tip. She began clearing the neighboring table, trying not to appear impatient. When she looked back, Travis and his friends were walking toward the exit. He caught her eye and gave her a warm wave. "Take care, Quinlan, and remember what I said about being a caregiver." After they left, Quinlan approached the table to clear the last dishes and collect the payment. She picked up the receipt holder, expecting to find the standard credit card slip and hopefully a decent tip. What she found instead would change her life forever. And in that moment, she had no idea that her simple act of providing excellent service had touched the heart of someone who had the power to transform her family's future in ways she had never dared to dream. Quinlan opened the receipt holder with practiced efficiency, expecting to see Travis's signature and hopefully a generous tip. What she found made her legs nearly give out beneath her. Stapled to the receipt was a personal check for $200,000 made out to her name. But it was the handwritten note that broke her completely. "Quinlan, I could see the love and strength in your eyes today. No one works as hard as you do without fighting for something important. I don't know what your battle is, but I hope this helps. Keep being the amazing person you are. Travis Kelce." P.S. Sometimes caregivers need someone to care for them too. Her hands began to shake uncontrollably as she read the note again, certain she was misunderstanding. The check was real, the signature was real, and the amount was exactly what she needed for Mason's surgery. She pressed the note to her chest, tears streaming down her face as the magnitude of this impossible gift hit her. "Oh my God," she whispered, sinking into the empty booth. "Oh my God." Sarah rushed over, alarmed by Quinlan's visible distress. "Honey, what's wrong? What happened?" Quinlan could only hand her the check and note, unable to speak through her tears. Sarah's face went through the same progression of shock, disbelief, and joy that Quinlan was experiencing. "This is real? This is actually real?" Sarah gasped, her own eyes filling with tears. "I think so. I think it's real," Quinlan managed to say between sobs. Marcus, the host, and Miguel from the kitchen gathered around, drawn by the commotion. When they saw the check, the entire staff seemed to share in the miracle that had just occurred in their midst. "Quinlan, this is incredible," Marcus said, his voice full of awe. "This is Mason's surgery, isn't it? This is exactly what you needed." She nodded, still unable to process that her months of prayer and desperate hope had been answered by a stranger who had simply recognized her struggle. The kindness of the gesture overwhelmed her, not just the money, but the fact that Travis had seen her pain and responded with such generosity. "I have to call him back," she said suddenly, standing up and looking toward the door. "I have to thank him properly. This is too much. I can't accept this." But even as she said the words, she knew she couldn't refuse. Mason's life hung in the balance, and Travis had handed her a miracle. Still, the magnitude of his generosity felt overwhelming. Sarah grabbed her shoulders gently. "Quinlan, honey, he's gone. And you know what? You can accept this. You deserve this. You've worked so hard, and Mason needs this surgery. But it's too much, Quinlan protested. I'm a stranger to. Why would he do this? Because some people are just good, said Miguel, wiping his eyes with his apron. And maybe because he could see what the rest of us see, that you're one of the good ones too. As word spread through the restaurant, other staff members and even some customers began to gather. The story of Travis Kelce's incredible generosity spread quickly, and soon the entire diner was buzzing with excitement and emotion. But not everyone was celebrating. Quinlan noticed Brittany, another waitress who had been working at Mel's for about a year, standing apart from the group with a sour expression. As the initial shock began to wear off, Brittany approached with barely concealed resentment. Wow, Quinlan, what a lucky break, Brittany said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. I guess being all sweet and innocent really pays off, doesn't it? The comment stung, cutting through Quinlan's joy like a knife. Brittany, this isn't about luck. This is about my son's life. Oh, please, Brittany continued, her voice getting louder and drawing attention from nearby customers. You think you're the only one with problems? I've got bills too, but I don't go around playing the victim to get sympathy from rich customers. Sarah stepped forward protectively. Brittany, that's enough. You have no idea what Quinlan has been going through. Actually, I do, Brittany snapped. We all do, because she never stops talking about it. Poor Quinlan. Poor little Mason. It gets old. And now she gets a $200,000 payout just for doing her job? It's ridiculous. The attack was so unexpected and vicious that Quinlan felt physically wounded. Here she was, experiencing the greatest miracle of her life, and someone was trying to poison jealous spite. Brittany, you're out of line, Marcus intervened firmly. Quinlan is one of our best employees, and she's going through something no parent should have to face. And what about the rest of us? Brittany demanded. I work just as hard as she does. I'm friendly to customers, but I don't have some sob story to manipulate people with. The word manipulate hit Quinlan like a physical blow. The suggestion that she had somehow orchestrated this gift, that her genuine struggle was some kind of performance, was devastating. I never asked for anything, Quinlan said quietly, her voice barely audible. I never told him about Mason. I never asked for help. Right, Brittany scoffed. You just happened to look so tragic that a millionaire felt sorry for you. How convenient. The confrontation was drawing stares from customers, and Quinlan felt her moment of pure joy being tainted by Brittany's bitterness. She looked down at the check in her hands, this incredible gift that could save her son's life, and for a moment wondered if Brittany was right. Had she somehow manipulated the situation without realizing it? Sarah put her arm around Quinlan, protective. You know what, Brittany? You're making a scene in front of customers over something that has nothing to do with you. Maybe you should take a break. I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking, Brittany replied, but her voice had lost some of its venom as she noticed the disapproving looks from both staff and customers. Marcus stepped forward with authority. Brittany, you need to stop right now. Either congratulate your co-worker on receiving help for her sick child, or keep your opinions to yourself. But this jealousy stops now. The intervention seemed to deflate Brittany's anger, and she stepped back, realizing she had crossed a line. But the damage was done. What should have been a moment of pure celebration had been clouded by resentment and accusation. Quinlan clutched the check and note to her chest, looking around at the faces of her colleagues and customers. Most showed support and happiness for her good fortune, but Brittany's words had planted a seed of doubt. As she tried to process this life-changing moment, she had no idea that the challenges were just beginning, and that Travis Kelce's generous gift would set in motion a series of events that would test not only her gratitude, but her strength, her relationships, and her faith in human goodness. Quinlan left work early that day, her manager insisting she take time to process what had happened and handle the practical aspect of Travis's incredible gift. As she drove to Mrs. Chen's house to pick up Mason, her mind raced between elation and anxiety. The check was real. She had verified it with the bank over the phone, but Brittany's cruel words echoed in her head, making her question whether she deserved such generosity. Mrs. Chen opened the door with her usual warm smile, but her expression quickly changed to concern when she saw Quinlan's tear-streaked face. Quinlan, dear, what's happened? Is everything all right? Mrs. Chen, Quinlan began, her voice shaking with emotion. Mason can have his surgery. A customer at the restaurant. He gave me the money. All of it." The elderly woman's eyes widened in amazement, and she pulled Quinlan into a fierce hug. "Oh, my dear child, this is wonderful news. This is a miracle." Mason appeared in the doorway, his small face lighting up when he saw his mother. Despite his heart condition, he still had the energy and curiosity of a typical 7-year-old, though Quinlan had noticed he tired more easily lately. "Mommy, Mrs. Chen and I made cookies." "Well, I helped," he announced proudly. Quinlan scooped him up, holding him tighter than usual, as tears of relief streamed down her face. "Baby, I have some really good news. Remember how we talked about the doctors helping your heart get stronger?" Mason nodded seriously. "The surgery that will make me better?" "Yes, sweetheart. We can do it now. A very kind man helped us today." Mason's face broke into a huge grin. "Really? I can have the surgery? And then I can play soccer again?" "Yes, babe. You're going to be able to do everything you want to do." As they drove home to their small apartment, Quinlan called Dr. Martinez, Mason's cardiologist, to schedule the surgery. The doctor's excitement was palpable when she explained that the funding was now available. "Quinlan, this is incredible news. I can't tell you how worried I've been about the timeline. We'll get Mason scheduled within the next 2 weeks. This surgery is going to change his life." That evening, after Mason had gone to bed, Quinlan sat at her kitchen table staring at Travis's note. She read it over and over, trying to understand what she had done to deserve such kindness. The phrase, "sometimes caregivers need someone to care for them too," brought fresh tears to her eyes. Her phone rang, startling her from her thoughts. It was Sarah. "Honey, how are you doing? I've been thinking about you all evening." "I'm still processing it all," Quinlan admitted. "Sarah, what Brittany said today, do you think she was right? Do you think I somehow manipulated the situation?" "Quinlan Marie Ashworth, don't you dare let that bitter woman poison this miracle," Sarah said firmly. "You gave excellent service to a customer, just like you do every day. He saw something special in you because there is something special in you. That's not manipulation, that's just who you are." Despite Sarah's reassurance, Quinlan couldn't shake her discomfort. The next morning, she arrived at work early, hoping to avoid any awkwardness with Brittany. But as she walked through the front door, she was surprised to find a small crowd gathered outside the restaurant. Marcus met her at the entrance, looking stressed. "Quinlan, thank God you're here. This situation has gotten a bit complicated." "What do you mean?" "Someone posted about what happened yesterday on social media. The story went viral overnight. We've got reporters outside, and the phone has been ringing constantly." Quinlan's heart sank. She had hoped to handle Mason's surgery quietly, without fanfare or attention. The last thing she wanted was to become some kind of public spectacle. "I don't want to talk to reporters," she said quickly. "You don't have to. But there's something else." Marcus looked uncomfortable. "Brittany called in sick today, but before she left yesterday, she apparently spoke to one of the customers about what happened. This customer has a blog, and she wrote a piece questioning whether you somehow manipulated Travis into giving you the money." The blog post, which Marcus showed her on his phone, was brutal. The blogger had interviewed Brittany, who painted Quinlan as a manipulative opportunist who had played up her sob story to extract money from a wealthy celebrity. While the post didn't use Quinlan's last name, it described the situation in enough detail that anyone following the story would know who it was about. "This is a nightmare," Quinlan, reading the accusatory words. "People are going to think I'm some kind of con artist." "Most people don't," Marcus assured her. "The comments on social media are largely supportive, but you know how it is. The negative voices are always the loudest." As if summoned by their conversation, Quinlan's phone began buzzing with calls from unknown numbers. Reporters wanted her story, talk shows wanted interviews, and strangers wanted to either praise or condemn her. The morning shift became surreal as curious customers came in, hoping to meet the waitress from the Travis Kelce story. Some were supportive, leaving extra-large tips and words of encouragement. Others seemed skeptical, watching her with suspicious eyes, as if trying to detect signs of the manipulation they had read about online. Around noon, a well-dressed woman approached Quinlan's section and specifically requested her table. When Quinlan came over to take her order, the woman smiled coldly. "So you're the famous Quinlan, the one who got the big payout from Travis Kelce." "I'm just here to take your order, ma'am," Quinlan replied, trying to maintain her professional composure. "Oh, I bet you are. Tell me, how did you do it? How did you manage to get a complete stranger to give you $200,000? That's quite a skill." The woman's words were loud enough for nearby tables to hear, and Quinlan felt the familiar sting of accusation. "Ma'am, I provided service to Mr. Kelce, just like I do for every customer. I never asked for anything." "Sure you didn't," the woman laughed. "And I suppose you just happened to mention your sick child and your financial troubles? Just happened to look tragic enough to tug at his heartstrings?" Other customers began to stare, some looking sympathetic, others appearing to judge. Quinlan felt trapped, wanting to defend her, but not wanting to create a scene that would fuel more negative attention. "I never mentioned my son to Mr. Kelce," she said quietly, but firmly. "He knows nothing about my personal situation." "Right," the woman replied sarcastically. "A millionaire just randomly gives $200,000 to Waitress. That happens all the time." Sarah appeared at Quinlan's side, having noticed the confrontation. "Ma'am, is there a problem with your service?" "Oh no, the service is fine. I'm just curious about the entrepreneurial spirit of your staff here." That evening, as Quinlan drove home, she felt emotionally drained. What should have been the happiest time of her life had become complicated by public scrutiny and accusation. She began to wonder if accepting Travis's gift had been a mistake, if the attention and controversy were worth the ability to save her son's life. But when she walked into their apartment and saw Mason playing quietly with his toy, conserving his energy as he always had to, she knew that no amount of public judgment mattered compared to giving him a healthy future. The surgery was scheduled for the following Monday, and nothing would stop her from giving her son the gift of life, regardless of what strangers thought about how she had received it. The weekend before Mason's surgery was a whirlwind of medical preparations and mounting public attention. Quinlan had stopped reading the comments and articles about Travis's gift, but the coverage continued to grow. Some sports commentators praised Travis for his generosity, while others questioned whether athletes should be giving away such large sums to strangers. The debate had taken on a life of its own, far removed from the simple act of kindness that had started it all. On Sunday evening, as Quinlan was helping Mason pack a small bag for his hospital stay, her phone rang. The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize, but something made her answer. "Hello, Quinlan. This is Travis Kelce." Her heart nearly stopped. "Mr. Kelce? I can't believe you're calling. I've been wanting to thank you properly, but I didn't know how to reach you. Please, call me Travis, and I'm the one who should be calling to apologize. I had no idea that my gesture would create such a media circus for you. I've been following the story, and I feel terrible about the negative attention you've received. Travis, please don't apologize. What you did for my family, there are no words. Mason is having his surgery tomorrow, and it's all because of your incredible kindness. How is Mason doing? Is he nervous about the surgery?" Quinlan glanced toward the living room where Mason was building a Lego castle, his latest project to keep his mind off the upcoming procedure. "He's being so brave. He keeps asking if he'll be able to play soccer. His heart is fixed." "And what do the doctors say?" "They're very optimistic. Dr. Martinez says that after recovery, Mason should be able to do everything other kids his age do. He'll finally be able to run and play without getting tired." Travis was quiet for a moment. "Quinlan, I want you to know something. What I did wasn't random kindness to a stranger. I saw something in you that day at Mel's, the way you carried yourself, the genuine care you showed everyone around you, the strength in your eyes, despite whatever you were going through. I didn't know about Mason's condition, but I could tell you were fighting for something important." But Travis, $200,000. That's not just kindness. That's life-changing generosity. Why would you do that for someone you just met? "Because I've been blessed in my life, and I believe that when you can help someone who's working as hard as you were, you should. My mom always taught me that we're here to take care of each other. And honestly, seeing the joy on your face when you realized what was happening, that was worth every penny." Quinlan began to cry, overwhelmed by his words. "I've been struggling with all the attention, all the people saying I somehow manipulated you. I've wondered if I should have refused your gift." "Quinlan, listen to me carefully. Don't let other people's inability to understand genuine kindness make you doubt what happened. You didn't manipulate anything. You were just being yourself. And that was enough to inspire me to help. Don't let anyone take that away from you or Mason." Monday morning arrived with a mix of anxiety and hope. As Quinlan checked Mason into Children's Hospital, she was surprised to find Dr. Martinez waiting for them with an unusual smile. "Quinlan, I have some interesting news. Travis Kelce's foundation contacted us this morning. They want to cover all of Mason's follow-up care and any future treatments he might need. They've also made a donation to establish a fund for other children in similar situations." The news left Quinlan speechless. Travis's generosity had extended far beyond her family to help other children facing the same impossible circumstance she had been dealing. The surgery took 6 hours. Quinlan sat in the waiting, Travis's note still tucked in her purse, reading it whenever anxiety overwhelmed her. Sarah had taken the day off to be with her, and even Mrs. Chen had come to the hospital to offer support. When Dr. Martinez finally emerged from the operating room, his smile told the story before his words did. The surgery was a complete success. Mason's heart is now functioning perfectly. He's going to have a normal, healthy life. Quinlan collapsed into Sarah's arms, sobbing with relief and gratitude. All the stress, all the negative attention, all the doubts had led to this moment. Her son would live. When Mason woke up the next day, groggy, smiling, his first question was whether he could now play soccer. Dr. Martinez assured him that after a few months of recovery, he would indeed be able to play soccer, run races, and do anything his heart desired. 3 days later, as Mason was being discharged from the hospital, Quinlan received another surprise. Travis appeared in the hospital lobby, having quietly arranged to visit. When the media attention had died down, "I hope it's okay that I came," he said, looking slightly nervous. "I wanted to meet Mason and see how he was doing." Mason's eyes went wide when he realized who was visiting. Even at 7, he knew Travis was famous, though he was more impressed by his size than his celebrity status. "Are you really a football player?" Mason asked, childlike directness. "I am, and I hear you're going to be a soccer player once you're all healed up." "The doctor says I can play any sport I want now," Mason said proudly. "My heart is fixed." Travis knelt down to Mason's level. "You know what, buddy? Your mom is the real superhero here. She worked so hard to take care of you, and she never gave up hope. You're lucky to have her." Mason nodded seriously. "She's the best mom in the world. She cries sometimes when she thinks I'm sleeping, but she always makes me pancakes in the morning anyway." The innocent observation brought tears to both Quinlan's and Travis's eyes, highlighting the quiet strength she had shown throughout their ordeal. As they prepared to leave the hospital, Travis pulled Quinlan aside. "I have one more thing for you," he said, handing her an envelope. "This isn't money, it's something else." Inside the envelope was a handwritten letter and what appeared to be legal document. The letter read, "Quinlan, watching you fight for Mason inspired me more than you'll ever know. I've established a scholarship fund in Mason's name at UCLA for single parents pursuing education while caring for children with medical needs. I've also arranged for a college fund for Mason that will cover his entire education when he's ready. But most importantly, I want you to know that your strength and love have reminded me why I do what I do, to be able to help people like you who make the world better just by being in it. Thank you for letting me be part of your miracle. Travis." Quinlan stared at the document, unable to process the magnitude of his continued generosity. "Travis, I don't understand. Why are you doing all this?" "Because meeting you and Mason changed something in me. You showed me what real strength looks like, what unconditional love means. I have all this success, all this money, but what's the point if I can't use it to help people who truly deserve it?" 6 months later, Mason was running across a soccer field, his laughter echoing across the park as he chased the ball with unlimited energy. Quinlan watched from the sidelines, tears of joy streaming down her face as she saw her son living the normal, active life she had dreamed of for him. The media attention had long since died down, but the impact of Travis's generosity continued to ripple outward. The scholarship fund had already helped 12 single parents continue their education, and Mason's college fund was growing steadily. More importantly, the story had inspired others to perform their own acts of kindness, creating a chain of generosity that spread far beyond anything Travis could have imagined. Brittany had eventually apologized, admitting that her jealousy had made her say cruel things she didn't mean. The experience had taught everyone at Mel's about the power of kindness, and the danger of letting envy poison joy. At work, Quinlan continued to serve customers with the same warmth and care she always had, but now with an added sense of purpose. She knew firsthand how a simple act of service could change lives, and she approached each interaction with the possibility that she might be the bright spot in someone's difficult day. Travis had visited Mason twice more, once to attend his first soccer game, and once just to check on his recovery. Each time, he was struck by the normal, happy childhood that his gift had made possible. Mason had no idea that his life had been saved by one of the most famous athletes in America. To him, Travis was just the nice man who had helped his mom when they needed it most. On the one-year anniversary of that life-changing day at Mel, Travis returned to the restaurant with his teammate. Quinlan was there to serve them, and as she approached their table with the same professional smile she had worn that first day, Travis looked up at her with deep satisfaction. "You know, Quinlan, I've scored a lot of touchdowns in my career, but nothing has felt as good as watching Mason run across that soccer field. Travis, I think about what you did for us every single day. You didn't just save Mason's life. You taught me that there are still people in this world who care about strangers, who use their blessings to lift others up. And you taught me that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply see someone who's struggling and choose to help. No questions asked, no recognition needed, just human being helping human being." As Quinlan walked away to get their drink, she reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. A simple lunch had become a miracle. A miracle had become a media circuit. And through it all, the genuine kindness of one person had transformed not just her family's life, but the lives of countless others. That evening, as she tucked Mason into bed and listened to him excitedly plan his next soccer practice, Quinlan pulled out Travis's original note, now carefully preserved in a frame on her dresser. The words, "Sometimes caregivers need someone to care for them too," had become her reminder that in a world that often feels harsh and uncaring, there are still people who choose kindness, who choose to see the good in others, and who understand that the greatest victories in life come not from personal achievement, but from lifting others up. Travis Kelce had given her family more than money. He had given them hope, dignity, and the knowledge that they were worthy of love and care from a complete stranger. In return, Quinlan had given him something equally valuable, the reminder that true wealth comes not from what you have, but from what you choose to give away. And Mason? Mason grew up knowing that the world was full of good people, that kindness was always possible, and that sometimes, when you least expect it, miracles really do happen in the most ordinary places, like a retro diner on a busy afternoon in Los Angeles, where a simple act of service became a testament to the power of human generosity.